This company is plastic company. Doing 85% of our business is local market and around 15% is the export. We have here 90 people who are working with me, 50 Palestinian and 40 Israeli, but it changes all the time. You can find Palestinian and Israeli in a management position or in simple position. The salary condition, this is the Israeli law. It's the same. The basic salary is the same for Israeli and Palestinian. And any kind of boycott, if it will success, destroyed this industrial area or destroyed my company, destroyed the hope for peace. And what I want after your visit, that what you will see, transfer to other European, because this is the hope of the Middle East. Don't destroy this hope and leave the conflict to politicians to solve. Industrial area out of the conflict. Industrial area, this is a hope for people.
You can see Tel Aviv from here. It's beyond you have a few there antennas. It's beyond that. Right now you're seeing the vast population of the States of Israel. 70% of the people who live in Israel live there. And it means that here you have a fundamental importance to have this place to secure yourself. The meaning of what they call the two-state solution is that here you're supposed to have Palestinian troops who will control and basically will be able to do whatever they want toward the vast majority of the population of Israel.
אבא אבן, שהיה שר החוץ של ישראל, קרא לגבולות האלה גבולות אושוויץ.
Our famous Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abba Evan, maybe you heard about him, he's a very famous one here, used to name these places, these borders, as the borders of Auschwitz. And because that beyond that, you will not be able to defend Israel anymore. And it's very important to mention, because we're talking about history and heritage. Talking about the history of the Jews to these lands, Governor Mesika said, it's not only because of security we are here. We are mainly here because that God gave us this promise, because of the prophets that gave the Jewish people thousands of years ago, 2,000 years ago.
It's important to see reality, and this is an example of living together, working together. This is a main argument, most important argument, because it's a distance between political theories and what happened in the field, in reality, in the field.
How do you look at the European boycott? That seems something that the people here bothers people here, that could be that even factories like that will be boycotted.
Yeah, in a history of historical point of view, boycott don't resolve nothing. This is a lesson. But what is important is realize a better communication. It is a lack of communication. It's an illusion. We are a society of information. We have a better communication. No, it's an illusion. We need many more effort to know reality in the field.
Will you go back with more information about the boycott and about what you saw here?
Yes, but we need to in my opinion, we need to invite young people to see what happened here in reality, not in slogans.
Actually, I was impressed to see something here, and this is a good lesson which we can bring back to the European Union. This was the lesson of tolerance. I was impressed to see that in a plant of 6,000 workers, 3,000 are Palestinians and 3,000 are Israelis. And this is really a manifestation that the tolerance could win over confrontation. Frankly speaking, it was the first place here when I learned about the boycott that you're asking about. So it is you to do your homework.
The Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, most of our work is based on the philosophy: if you want to have a strong relationship between two groups, you need to educate, enhance, and sustain the relations with the end goal of building dialogue, understanding, and trust. What we saw today was a wonderful example of that, where you had dialogue, you had understanding, and you had trust between the workers in that company. And I think an example like that says much more than all of the theory and the debates that we can have, because there it's actually people's daily lives, where you have Israelis and Palestinians working hand in hand together. That's, I think, the way we can change the situation over time, by showing those success stories, by getting those voices heard also around the world. It's easy to criticize, it's easy to label and say there's this group and that group, and the politics and the history are complex. But despite all of that, every day in peace and in harmony, you have those 3,000 Israelis and those 3,000 Palestinians working together, not only making money, nourishing their families, but moving things forward. So it's not a matter of protesting or necessarily boycotting or going in the streets, but a matter in a constructive way. Let's come together and let's actually shape our destiny together by actually producing, by actually creating new products, new services. That's the way I think really sustainably of moving forward. So definitely I think there's a great potential for collaboration around the world, and I think we need to do more to have these success stories told in other formats, because very often in the media you just hear about the negatives and you don't hear so much about the positives. And I think it's very, very important, especially at a time of economic crisis, at a time of the Arab Spring or the Arab Fall, whatever we want to call it, many transitions, to show that actually success is possible and cooperation is possible, despite the history, despite the politics, and despite the cultural differences.